Okay, so how on earth does a massive global company decide who gets promoted? I mean, when you have hundreds of thousands of employees scattered all over the world, how do you even begin to make that process fair and fast and, transparent? Well, today we're going to dive into that because we got our hands on this really fascinating internal proposal that tries to answer that exact question by basically turning a career path into code. So, we're talking about a company called Concentrix. And to give you a sense of scale, they have over 225,000 employees. Let's just let that sink in. That's not just a company, that's practically a city. So, you can imagine managing talent and career growth at that level isn't just a small HR challenge, it's a massive logistical puzzle. And that really brings us to the core question, the one this whole proposal is trying to solve. At that kind of scale, how do you give every single one of those people a fair shot at moving up? How do you get past just, gut feelings and who knows who, and build a system that actually works for everybody?
All right, so first, let's break down the problem they were trying to solve. The document starts by laying out some pretty serious flaws in its old system for internal job postings, or what they call IJP.
And what's kind of wild is how brutally honest this proposal is about the old way of doing things. It straight up calls out the existing process for causing high employee turnover, creating inequalities, and being bogged down by vague rules and what it calls discretion-based decisions. Basically, the document is screaming, the old system is broken and we have to fix it. And this slide, wow, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? It paints this picture of a huge shift. They want to move away from a subjective, kind of old school system that takes months to something totally data-driven and systematic that could take just days. It's a promise of a complete revolution in how they handle promotions. So, what's their big fix? Let's get into the heart of it. The proposal's big idea is this thing called the talent database. This is supposed to be the engine that powers the whole new system. So what is it, exactly? Well, the document defines it as a system that gives every single employee a score. It does this through a, get this, systematic quantification of their work-life elements. In plain English, it turns your entire professional life, your whole career, into a number, all to make hiring faster and, at least in theory, a lot more objective.
And that score isn't just one random number. It's broken down into four perfectly balanced pillars. You've got performance, innovation, knowledge, and experience. And each one accounts for exactly 25% of the total score. The idea is to create a balanced, kind of holistic view of every potential candidate.
Okay, but that's the big question, right? How do you actually put a number on something like knowledge or innovation? Well, this is where the proposal gets really, really specific about the data that feeds this machine. Just look at this list. The system would literally pull data from everywhere. Your performance reviews, any ideas you submitted to innovation programs, your grades from high school and college, any certifications you've earned, all the way down to your months of experience. And, get this, even your age. Yep, that's in there too. I mean, that's the really radical idea here, isn't it? Every single piece of your professional life, all those things we usually talk about qualitatively, would be crunched and converted into points. Your entire career basically distilled into a single quantifiable score. So, does this mean you never talk to a human again? Not quite. But the human part of the process gets a major shakeup. Let's look at the new workflow and this new thing they're proposing called the reinforcement session. So here's how it would work. You apply for a job. Instantly, the talent database calculates your score. If you're one of the high scorers, you get invited to this reinforcement session. And only after that do the top few candidates finally move on to a final round with an actual manager. The first big cut is completely automated. The whole point of these reinforcement sessions is to completely replace those old, boring written tests and the initial HR phone screens. So instead of generic questions, these sessions are meant to be interactive briefings about what the job is actually like, giving candidates a real feel for the role before they even get to the final interview. So what's the big payoff? Why go to all this trouble to build such a complicated system? Well, the proposal wraps up by focusing on the huge impact and the massive benefits it claims this will all deliver. First and foremost, speed. I mean, look at this. The claim is that they can shrink the internal hiring process from something that could drag on for months down to just a matter of days. For a company this huge, that is an absolute game changer.
But it's not just about being faster. The ambition here is, well, it's huge. This quote from the document really says it all. The stated goal is to use this system to
eradicate all types of ambiguities, inequalities, and discontentment. I mean, that is a powerful, almost utopian claim.
And at the end of the day, that's the real bottom line for the business. By creating a career path that feels faster, fairer, and way more transparent, the ultimate goal is to keep their best people. Because employees who feel like they have a future are a lot less likely to leave, and that's a massive deal in their industry. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty deep question. A system that scores every single part of your professional life promises this incredible level of fairness and efficiency. But is this really the future of how we move up in our careers? Or does an algorithm, no matter how smart it is, risk missing that unquantifiable human element? You know, the spark, the potential, the creativity that just can't be boiled down to a number in a database.